That's what we've been waiting for. Unbelievable timing on that. And it's the Tigers straight away. Game. Elliott! What a start!
Welcome to the Ultimate Supercoach and Fantasy Sports Show. You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Insight NBL show, our round 3 preview. Can you believe it's already round 3? As always, we are brought here today by Ryan from Astute Newstead for all your mortgage broking needs. I'm the Supercoach Mattrix, and today I'm here with my co-host, _hammer_32 on Twitter. Mate, how are you today?
I'm good, man. I feel like I've made it. I've been bumped up to the top row. This is big.
Yeah, it is big. I'm excited to have you on as my co-host. I tell you what, I don't believe anything Rob says about you. I like you, man.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Look, on today's show, we're going to cover heaps of stuff. We're going to talk a bit of shit, but also we're going to cover breaking news. We're going to give our Supercoach previews of each game. We're going to go through the most traded in and out, trade and captain thoughts, starts and sits, and answering your questions along the way. Our league code is 680481 for your chance at a standard squeeze pack every week if you are our squeeze of the week. So shout out to the standard squeeze. I'm sitting here with my 4-1. Tim, who won our squeeze of the week this week, was initially the person that nicknamed me the Mattrix at some B-grade basketball games. So yeah, we went full circle there. But heading into some breaking news, tell me what happened with the fight between the Bullets and Cans, man. Yeah,
there's a bit happening now. So we sat for a few days with no news, and it's come out in the last couple of hours. Ford's pretty much got off scot-free, no action to be taken. Lat Mayen has copped a fine, and Aaron Baines is facing a one-man tribunal Thursday night. So, it's a wait and see. So there's some big implications if you're holding Baines. And it's probably not a risk I'd be taking if I was holding. I'd be getting him out quick smart.
Yeah, and I don't really know if you know, but a one-man tribunal, is that because nobody else wants to face Baines? Like, is there just one man that's going to stand in front of him? Like, what's the one-man tribunal?
It's weird, right? I was talking about it today. I'm like, who is the one man? Who picks him?
It's actually Adam Ford.
Judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah, so I suppose we'll have a chat about who benefits if Bain goes out when we chat about the Bullets games. But tell me about DJ3J. I know you're excited.
Look, it's a rumor. It's swirling. I don't know how much traction we're getting with this one, but Adelaide have shown some interest in Dusan Vasiljevic after he was waived from his two-way with Washington. So DJ's showing interest to come back to the league. However, Sydney still maintains the right of refusal. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. New coach there. They look pretty set. Probably a much bigger role in Adelaide for him. Fantasy relevant? What are your thoughts? I'm probably leaning towards no.
Oh, probably not. Like, you know how much I like people from that team. It's like it's like a bad smell. I like, at least on KO. So obviously I watch my NBL games on KO. There's a plug for them. At least on KO, when you're watching them and you finish your game, you have to go back out to go back in, which I hate. I wish you could just press NBL and it would just keep the next game going. But at least it gives me right of refusal to not watch the Adelaide games if they're playing the second game. So
yeah, if there's any silver lining with DJ, if he does come back, is this new scoring system probably suits him better, but doesn't seem enough for me to have a punt on the DJ3J.
Look, I bet you people weren't thinking we were going to be talking about DJ3J, but let's answer a couple questions. So let's answer some questions along the way. We'll answer them as they're between some games, and it might shorten some of the chats about the teams coming up. So let's go to Amusement Productions. Give us a bit of love at the start. He's ranked 42nd in the group. But wondering your preference between cash gen with people like Galloway and Sarr versus points with Doyle and Robinson early on. What's your thoughts there?
I feel with this combination, you can potentially have the best of both worlds. Like, I'm bringing in Justin Robinson this week. Cash generation, love the way he plays, but he's also tipped to go up 44, 45K. So they've only played the 2 games so far, so he hasn't had a price rise. Pretty low break even. So I'd be going towards Justin Robinson regardless and get the cash and the points.
Yeah.
The other one, Galloway. He's got a negative break even still.
Yep. Both. I don't know which Galloway is it, but both of them have a negative break even at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of, I find Galloway as somebody that you can play and get points and make that cash grab, but so is Justin Robinson there. So Mikasa Sukasa, why can't we have both, as the young taco lady says? So yeah, you've probably got to try and put some points on the board while still making money. And I think maybe a mix of someone like Galloway and J Rob instead of your Doyles and your Sarr could be the answer.
Yeah, I'd steer clear of Doyle now. I've got him, but I'm holding him. I'm not bringing him in just for this week. So they go to singles after this one. You really start to need to be putting some plans in place around that round 4. That's going to probably separate the men from the boys in this competition a little bit, and those who've planned ahead and those who haven't. But Doyle is a bit more expensive. He needs to score pretty much what he's been scoring to maintain his price. So yeah, J-Rob's definitely probably the option I'd take out of those 2.
We've got a few other questions popping in. Who do we like as captain? We're going to have a segment because we have some differing thoughts, both Hammer and I, as to who we might captain this coming week. So we're going to have a chat of that when we reveal our trades and our teams a bit later on. Coach G, which is huge if you find him in our other comments. Wishing there was a captain loophole, obviously coming from your NRL and your AFL. There is. You've just got to have a guy that's on a buy there, Coach G. And it costs you a little bit more in NBL Supercoach. Of course, as per usual, there's people giving Mattrix a spray. Ford over Brisbane. Not sure I feel about that. I'm surprised Ford made it out of Brisbane, to be honest. Yes, I am very ordinary at FPL. I'll stick to the basketball and the NRL, I think, Coach G. We're having a bit more of a chat. There's other people asking about the cash gen and bench points, having a look, but his thoughts on using a boost on Henschel to McDaniels. This is David Bryson, coach of Too Many Cooks, friend and fan of the show. What do you think, Hammer?
Oh, I don't think I'd be bringing McDaniel in right now. I feel like he's getting that little bit more expensive, probably going to hit a ceiling soonish. I'd definitely be holding. It depends what your plans are moving forward. Like, Brisbane have a really good stretch. So if I'm bringing him in, I'm holding him until they finish their run of doubles. But I don't hold him. And right now, if you didn't get in on the first price rise, I think you're probably a little too late.
So I'm a big fan of this as a trade. I'm just not a big fan of it as a boost. I think, as you said, round 4, round 5 is going to sort the boys from the men. I think saving that boost could really elevate your game. And right now, it's just going to make you 40K at the moment. I think your boosts are going to be worth more than that as we get a bit further. We've got a couple other questions, especially about like Doyle, J Rob, or Travis as captain. Thanks, Brad. We're going to be going through the captains a little bit later on. I see some more questions coming in, but we're just actually going to pop into the first game, which is your boys, Tasmania versus Illawarra, 6:30 Thursday. Of course, we're both in Queensland, so that's 7:30 to all you people from down south. Mason Peatling is going to have an extended stint on the sidelines, Hammer. Is it Lockie Ulbrich season?
I think it is. It's not the only injury. The Hai Jong Lee is out as well. So there's some opportunity around. Ulbrich has been good. He's been very productive, almost at a point a minute. And he's been putting up, 17, 18 a game. I think he's due. He'll switch between the 4 and the 5 behind Sam Froling. And Gary Clark, obviously the import. But I think he shares the minutes behind those two. And at 69K without having had his price rise yet, if you have a spare trade, I'd be bringing him in.
Yeah, and I think like having the opportunity to get him in before a price rise, but still being in round 3 is really underrated, because when this guy has got the opportunity, a first game was probably a little bit disappointed, but a lot better in his second game. Yeah, he's been great, and especially at 69K, like he's going to come in negative break even. He's going to make you some cash. I have somebody like Sam Menenga on the bench, so one of my decisions is that worth a trade? What Lockie Ulbrich is going to get me in 2 games this week. So, yeah, stay tuned for that one.
You need to remember, though, that Lockie Ulbrich all the way through preseason was dominant. The first game he had 10, second one he had 18 of the actual season. He can put some numbers up, and he's going to get the opportunity now. The opportunity's increased, and I was already happy with what he was doing. So I've held him since round 1. But I would look at bringing him in for a downgrade and sparing some cash for some of the bigger guys who's going to pop up as we start to look towards New Zealand and Cairns coming back sort of round 4, 5, 6, that sort of period.
What I like about him is his haircut. So if anyone has the name of his barber, I suppose I'm asking for his mum's number here. Yeah, just slide in the comments and let me know. But he kind of looks like a Pokemon there. Looks like Pidgeotto or something. So, but the name on everybody's list is Justin Robinson. 10.3% of teams are adding him this week. You've already mentioned that you're looking to add him this week. Is it the price rise? Is it the points? Is it the double game week? Or is it just a combination of it all, Hammer?
It's all of it. Look, I said, I think early in our preseason pod, that he is fantasy gold. The only problem is the schedule. So Illawarra have a very backloaded schedule. I think it's the last 5 or 6 rounds they start to go nuts. So if you can have trades up your sleeve and you want to bring him in for a 1-week rental here and there, or hold where you can get some price rises out of it, it's, this is the game where making coin matters. And you won't realize how important that is until you get towards the back end of the season and you can't afford to bring in the squad that you want. So, look, ultimately, you almost want to get to a point where you have an entire bench of playable guys. And by playable, I'm talking those 270 sort of K import level guys. So, he's an important piece, I reckon, and this is the week to bring him in.
Look, I'm going to go with a question as I'm answering the Tasmania and Illawarra chat. Corey Blackledge, he's been in my DMs, absolutely loving the NBL content at the moment. And he's asking who is the best captain between Sobey or Robinson this week. We're going to be talking about Brisbane in the next one. We're going to be talking about Robinson now. Is he captain worthy?
Which one?
Robinson, because we're in the Illawarra game, so Robinson.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've got the C next to him, and I don't think I'm going to move from that. Robinson versus Sobey. I think it's worth looking at the matchups on that. We talked on the review pod quickly about a sort of an Adams versus Robinson comparison. That, to me, they're almost the same player. They're those sort of score first point guards. They get into the defense, try and get to the rack, and we saw what Jalen Adams did against the defense of Tasmania. He still had 35 fantasy points while he was still finding his feet, hadn't played in a while. I feel like Robinson's going to do the same. So his matchups are the Jack Jumpers and the second game versus Adelaide, which is, the defense on that team, it's like a turnstile, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lack thereof.
Exactly. And you compare that to a Sobey. What are Brisbane's matchups? They've got Melbourne United, who are tough defensively, especially in the guards, and Perth. So it's always tough playing Perth. You're probably going to be matching him up on an Usher, who's come out and said he wants the best offensive player on the other team. He's got some length, some strength. He can do a number. So I feel like Robinson has the edge with the matchups.
Yep. Yeah, look, I like it. Another guy, when we're looking at Tasmania versus Illawarra, is Doyle. He's 353K. He's got a 63 break even, and that's over 2 games. Chris Sears is in the chat. Like, would you prefer a Doyle or a Sobey? They're similar prices, about 30K difference. Sobey has a lower break even, having absolutely gone off last week. But do you feel you're chasing last week's points with Sobey and you could go with a safer Doyle? Or I suppose we could add Justin Robinson in this mix. We've just talked about Sobey and Justin Robinson as well. I suppose you'd prefer Justin Robinson over Doyle. I got that vibe. But what about Sobey and Doyle?
I feel like Robinson takes the cake because you're going to get similar production at about 100K discount with the price rise imminent. That's the benefit of Justin Robinson. If we're talking Doyle and Sobey, look, I think they're similar players. Tassie's at home against the Hawks. The Hawks are leaky defensively. So the concern there is if it's a blowout, do they start to rest Doyle? Brisbane, look, you can almost toss it up. I was going to say that Sobey only scores off his actual points, which last game was the case. I think he had 31 actual points, but you go back to the game before, he was looking at a triple-double. So, I don't think you can go wrong with either. If I had a choice of both of those, I would go with the one who is least owned as a point of difference. Yeah.
Sounds good, man. I suppose that answers all our questions about Tasmania and Illawarra, and both are on double game weeks. So, still keep getting your questions in. We will get to them. But I suppose the next one with Brisbane and Sydney, 6:30 Friday, are we adding Sobey? Is everybody adding Sobey after he erupted last week? I know that I've been very, very tempted at that 318K price, but I think I'd like to get a bit more potty with it.
I had a quick look at Sobey. The extra dollars required to bring him in has turned me off. And I'm also the kind of guy who holds a grudge for a very long time, and he's burnt me before. So I'm very wary about bringing him in. But I did give it a look. They do have the good schedule over the next few rounds. However, they don't play round 4. So, look, I went Justin Robinson over Sobey. But, he's not a bad option. He's going to get the time. He's going to get the opportunity. He's shown in 2 or 3 games so far that he's going to put up. So, go for it.
Yeah, what I think should be noted between, we've just spent probably 5 minutes talking about Sobey, Doyle, and Justin Robinson. All of them are on singles next week. Like, if any of them were on a double next week, that would be enough to tip me any way 100%. Around. Yeah. It's just really hard with those guys. We know that they've got a single. We know that if we want to get all our starters, and they're all expensive in their own right, or going to be more expensive next week. I think if there was a double in there somewhere, that's how close they are. You just need something to tip you over the line.
See, if we want to stay on talking about that round 4 for a minute, Matty, there's a question from Matty Granger, a couple back, asking about round 4. And what I've done is I've held Will Cummings on my bench. So I've got Will Cummings, Ben Eyre, and then I've also got Travers and Huck Porty. So your Southeast Melbourne and your Melbourne, that's probably what I'm looking at for round 4. Melbourne United have a double either side of that, which makes them very good to look at. Huck Porty Travers I've held the whole way through. So look, that's a bit of a luxury. I don't know if I'll be bringing any Melbourne players this week, planning for it, but I've got enough next week that I've got 4 playable guys on doubles before trades. So they're probably the teams I'm looking at. You talked about Adelaide. I think it's very clear the disdain we both have for that club and everything to do with it. So, Southeast Melbourne are the 2 you'd be looking at.
Yep, and and Matty Granger just asked Hammer for that one. So, I'm not going to answer it. We're excited to talk about Tyrell Harrison and Rocco Zakarsky. And I've got in the notes here that at the time I wrote the notes, I actually didn't know the news about bangers. The NBL have been really slow, and I suppose they've been doing their own reviews or, taking their 3 days off during the week or whatever they do. But if bangers isn't playing, is Tyrell Harrison at 150K worth a trade?
I think so. If you got the spare trade, knowing the bangers will come back, but it was also reported that bangers missed training this week due to a family illness. So read into that what you will. Has he been given the week off because they know he's going to, get suspended? I don't know. But, yeah, look, I think Tyrell Harrison, out of him and Zakarski, obviously gets a good run. I don't think you're going to bring Rocco in for a game. I was thinking about it, though. And for those who probably aren't aware, Maddie and I coached an under-18s team together. It was about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We took them down to, Northside Wizards with our 5'10" center against this 7'3" behemoth. that was our first look at the guy. So, we know what he can do.
Yeah, he's an absolute beast, and he is just a kid. I still don't expect him to see that many minutes because he is still just a kid. He's extremely talented, and he will, I suppose. I think that he'll be fantastic. Like that first look at him, he's amazing. He's a big Gumby, but I think we'll see a lot more of him. But this is his first foray. I think they'll ease him into it. And my name asked some very similar questions. We were sort of answering it, and he had the questions coming through. But if Lat Mayen gets one game for what he does, in my opinion, even through my what do we call it? Sky blue bullets tinted glasses. I still think I see Baines missing more time than Lat Mayen, don't you?
Yeah, look, I'd say he'll get probably 2 games, has to serve one of them, and a fine maybe. I don't see him not missing a week this week. And what do they got? They got the double. Maybe he comes back for the second game. I don't know. We should know by Thursday night.
So Supercoach wise, if he misses these 2, you're probably not looking to bring him in at a single. He hasn't been fantastic anyway. He's got some doubles coming up. Yeah. Look, apart from the fact that he's bangers, ex-NBA player, NBA champion, whatever he is, he hasn't been that good for the Bullets. I would be happy if we didn't bring him up until his double game week. So,
yeah, at 240K, find value elsewhere.
Yeah, he's dropped a bit now. So, sometimes it's not what you spend, it's what you save. So you can get 6K there. But this is week 3. When are we going to see Bannon after his knee injury in the Blitz? They said 3 or 4 weeks. I had a look at the injury report. He's listed as week to week. If Bannon comes in, does that make Sam McDaniel a trade out? Or has he sort of earned his spot in the rotation? I know that that's 2 questions, but I was really excited about Bannon in the preseason, probably not Sam McDaniel. I think he's got the opportunity due to, those injuries to Bannon and DJ missing that game.
It's got to
is Sam McDaniel an automatic trade out?
I think you run McDaniel until he stops making cash, and you can probably go a game with Bannon back and see what the dynamic is, knowing that they'll ease Bannon back in. But I think Bannon's a genuine 4. To me, Sam McDaniel is probably more of a 3-2. He's playing some small ball 4 occasionally, but I think it's more out of necessity than anything because they've lost Bannon. DJ Mitchell's been ordinary, and they've been playing some small ball opponents. So I think Bannon will find his spot, and he'll be a big target for me for that next cash rise with the last of the 69K guys coming in. You know he's going to play with a 6-point break even on a 69K player. You're going to make cash.
Yeah. Jalen Adams. We're playing. Is he a captain option?
Well, yeah. I think what's he got? Sydney versus Brisbane. Brisbane's a solid matchup in the guard play. I've spoken at length about Shannon Scott. That's my guy. This guy locks down defensively. This is the guy who made everyone realize that Flowers couldn't dribble a basketball. So that's going to be a tough matchup. he'll still get his, maybe, just maybe not quite what we're expecting on captain level. And then second game versus Perth. I mean, who's going to guard him in Perth? You're not going to put Cotton on him. You probably have, Ty Webster?
Usher?
Oh, well, maybe. But then Sydney has a couple of other weapons. Who do you put on Valentine? Who do you put on, even Galloway?
Yeah, true.
Look, I don't hate his matchups. I think Brisbane's going to be tougher. Perth's easier, but he wouldn't be my pick as a number one captain. But if you're holding him over from last week, you don't have some of these other guys. I've done worse, like Valentine.
Yeah. Notice that I have glossed over Valentine because I don't want to see you go red in the face again. But is Jalen Galloway, is he a start? And if you don't have him, is it too late to add him? He's got a break even of 6. He's 177K. He's been scoring fantastically. Got 58 last week in his 2 games. Do you add him if you don't have him? And do you start him if you do own him?
I think he's definitely startable. That last game showed that. I looked at bringing him in. I didn't have the cash to do it. I came up a little bit short. Yeah, look, if you hold him, don't get rid of him. He's going to keep generating cash, and you ride that thing until DJ Hogue comes back. And then, look, what do you see the ceiling price-wise for him? Like, do you see him going past?
Yeah, I was going to say 250. I see him as a 250K player that you're getting for 177K. Like, if you've seen an 80K price rise, like, you can move him onto some pretty good guys coming into some good draws.
And I don't see DJ Hogue coming back anytime soon. And from what I've heard, he's not in pristine shape either. So Galloway's going to maintain that role to some degree, and you'll have plenty of time to get rid of him, especially I think this just comes down to schedule.
Yep. Look, that's us covering a couple games. Let's go through a few of the questions that we're bringing up. We've got Braden Dunstan. Current trades at Creek, Cook to Doyle and J. Rob. Any other suggestions if not Doyle? Not sure how Sobey will go, though, with matchups and no Baines. I might grab this one because I think you could probably go Sobey over Doyle. I would be extremely happy bringing Sobey and Justin Robinson in for Creek and Cook. My only concern is that maybe you shouldn't trade one of those guys out due to the double next week. So you're in a single next week. There's only Melbourne, Southeast Melbourne, and Adelaide next week. I don't like anyone from Adelaide, as I think, you could put it on a T-shirt next to my head because it's my most said thing at the moment. I think maybe you cop the little bit of a price loss with Creek, sit him on your bench so that you're not just trading in 2 guys that might even require trading out next week due to some singles, and save Creek for the following week and maybe find somebody a bit cheaper for cash generation or something like that. What are your thoughts, Hammer? Is it something similar?
Yeah, possible. I think the critical thing is you got to get rid of Cook. You've seen on Southeast Melbourne's socials this week, Big Sources back training. They had both him and Cooks going at it together. Gorjak Gak looked like he was back on court. So you don't want to be holding the baby when Cooks is given the air ticket home. Creek, it's a lot of money to hold on your bench. But if you have him next week, it saves you a trade bringing him in because he's probably one of the only real captain options next week. It's definitely doable. Doyle, J-Rob, Sobey, J-Rob. We sort of cover that. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I think Doyle and Sobey are same price, similar production. I don't think Bangers out hurts Sobey
I think it helps him.
Potentially, although he does set some big picks that gets the guys open off the on balls. But Sobey's going to
yeah. Zakarski's not going to do that. He looked like he'd blow over in the wind. So,
yeah.
Having a chat about leaving Southeast Melbourne players on your bench. Thomas is asking Air to Ulbrich. Is that worth a boost? For me, that's not, due to the fact that Air is one of those guys playing a double next week, even if he's on your bench. I love what Ulbrich is bringing. I love the fact that you can and I'm presuming you're using a lot of duels, so you've got plenty of players. We've all got 10. Surely you can find somebody else instead of Air to trade out for Ulbrich, due to the fact that Air's going to be... Look, he's maybe where he's going to be price rise. I don't think you're going to be making money out of Air, but I think he's going to get you 10 to 15 every week. He's playing 2 games next week when everybody's playing 1. I think you kind of want to hold Air, save the boost. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I want to get rid of Air, but this isn't the week to do it. I'll be trying to move him on after week 4. I don't think using a boost is wise on that. Like, if you want to bring Ulbrich in, I'm assuming you have some other cheapies that may have already had a price rise, like maybe a Menenga. Henschel's probably due for a price rise this week. There's probably someone else you could look at. But it is worth sort of like looking at your boosts. You get 4 of them. And it's probably worth sitting down, looking at that schedule and thinking, when am I likely to use it? So my strategy is, unfortunately, I've used 1 already due to the Armstrong debacle. But I was planning to use 1 when Cairns comes back, 1 when New Zealand comes back, and leaving 1 up my sleeve for any sort of late season run or injury.
I think you'll find yourself sitting there in week 15 looking back at a trade from Air to Ulbrich and think, why the fuck did I do that? Hindsight's a beautiful thing. We don't have it yet. It could make an absolutely fool. Ulbrich could be 200k by the end of the year, but look, yeah, he's got a poor schedule. So anyway, let's head into the second game on Friday night. Perth versus Melbourne, 8:30 Friday. Over here in Queensland. Don't know what time that is in Perth. It's probably a lunchtime matinee game over there. But is Cotton an option versus Melbourne, or is their defense just too good?
I think Cotton just gets his, right? Like, even that game, I think I captained him round 1 maybe? He had 10 assists at half, or 9 assists at half time and scored 7 points, but he was still getting going. It takes a lot to stop Cotton. And he can do a lot of stuff in a lot of different areas. If he's not scoring, he can get his assists going, get steals. I don't think there's ever going to be a week where Cotton's not an option. Yeah,
I agree with you. My next question was about Travis and Huck Porty. But I've got Grill and Timmy. Yeah, he's got himself a 4-in-1 after his massive week. I believe he captained Sobey last week. He's just saying he's a Supercoach rookie, coach of the Backdoor Bandits, which I'm sure is about some baseline cuts there. But he wants to invest in some Melbourne players. But he's not liking the way that they have been Supercoach-wise. Melbourne choices, does it go beyond Travis and Huck Porty?
I think the only other one until JLA comes back is probably Travers. Dellavedova.
Yeah.
I don't love him. He looked out of sorts last week with the inclusion of Ian Clark back. Yeah, look, for me, Huck Porty, Travers, they're going to accumulate cash. They're producing above their price right now. They're playable. That's about as far as I'm looking. I've dabbled in Delhi, but I won't pull the trigger.
And we've got a lot of Delhi questions coming in. He still got 21 last week, but yeah, it's that minutes reduction. It's not so much the way that he played. It's the fact that he went from like 26 to 28 minutes all the way down to 22 when Ian Clark back. And that's a cause for concern for me. We've got some questions like Liam Dent coming in with Justin Robinson or Delhi. And I know Delhi's schedule's good, but I think that it's worth just going Justin Robinson if you get that opportunity. Look, I'm just not loving Delhi. I think he does rely on points, and he's not as good of a shooter as somebody like a Sobey or somebody like that to bank on.
Yeah, it doesn't feel natural. It's I think he's overachieved so far and will potentially... I mean, he's being aggressive, but we'll potentially see a return to the sort of numbers he was putting up last time he was in the NBL.
Yeah. Look, we can touch on some Perth players a little bit later on because they are on a double game week. Yeah, exactly. Give me Keanu Pinder any day. Let's look at Adelaide versus the Hawks. 4:30 Saturday. I mean, like we could discuss people like McCarron or Trey Kell, but look, I'm not going to put what I say on my shirt. I'm not going to say it again, but I'm just going to say that Adelaide have a single, then a double, and then singles till round 11. We're talking about this in round 4. We could talk about people from Adelaide, but I'm not interested.
How close are we, though, to seeing CJ Bruton lace them up and say, look, boys, give me the rock. Like, this isn't working, all right? I'd probably put him in my Supercoach team. The only hope I'm holding out for Adelaide is that if they sign a new import and we can pick him up that 277 mark and he's an absolute jet. But history does not suggest they're going to bring in anyone of any substance. You know, you look back, we've covered this before, your Donald Sloans, your, God, what was the guy who got sent home this year after 14 minutes?
Jamal Franklin.
Jamal Franklin. Like, there's a whole list of them, man. It's Adelaide's a wasteland for fantasy. But Illawarra playing Adelaide, now that's nice.
Talk about a circle jerk.
Okay.
Look, this game's the reason you captain Justin Robinson if you're getting him this week, right?
Yeah, look, I don't think anyone there is going to lock him up. They might send Sunday Dets to him. He hasn't been as good as he's been known to be in the past. McCarron, probably not. Jason Kadee won't guard him. Kell won't guard him. I see him just tearing up. They don't have a comparable quick guard who's that explosive who can do anything about it.
No, I agree with you. I think Kyron Galloway still got a little bit of money to make, and as a guy on your bench, I'm okay with him playing some singles, and he's made 30K, still is a negative break even. I'm okay with him marinating on my bench. But yeah, look, we've talked about the Hawks. What about
Humph?
Not at that price with the draw upcoming. I just think if you're going to go people in your centers, I think we're clutching at straws. Like, you had to say it. Like, what about Humph? Like, as a question mark. Like, there's nothing definitive that he's done outside of preseason that's made me want to get him.
No, that's fine. I was just trying to include one nice comment about Adelaide, but let's move on from it. It didn't work.
You know what? They make some all right wine.
Yeah.
As a segue, having a chat about, some Hawks players. We've chatted about Robinson a lot. We're going into Southeast Melbourne versus Tassie. We have covered a lot of Tassie players due to the fact that they were playing a little bit earlier. But Kobo Hoger's asking about bringing in Robinson next to Travis next week and moving Will Cummings to the bench. Should he hold Will until the next round of double games? And you're a Will Cummings owner, Hammer. You answer for Kobo.
Look, it's hard to say exactly without knowing what you got going on in your forward positions. Travers is dual positions, so you could potentially play Cummings on this week if you had to. But yeah, I like it. I think having a Southeast Melbourne guy who's playable, and Cummings definitely is on a double. If you can afford to hold him on the bench, go for it. I'd just like to see what's in your forward positions before I make any more comment on that.
Yeah, agree. I'd probably nearly leave him there. Like, it's fine. You get that double, and then you can trade him out later. I think that somebody like Cummings could be invaluable next week.
Yeah.
What do we do with him? What do we?
You can get rid of him if you've got a trade to burn. I just think there's more pressing things. A lot of us have held Cairns guys who are now on double donuts. That's your priority to get them out of it. Air may still make you a little bit of coin. Tick your bench over. He's relevant next week. For me, I want to get rid of him. He's not a priority trade out yet.
Yeah, I think that, and especially with the double, I think you're going to get, as advertised, that 10 to 15 points every game, and that's really good on a double game week. You're paying that much money to get that many points. I don't think you're going to get too many games. And I've been shitting the bed there with him on -1 at halftime and some things like that. But I don't think we're going to get that from him. I think that his spot is a little bit It's consistent. If you listen to Big Source's podcast, and that's a good segue into talking about Big Source. But if you listen to Big Source's podcast, they talk about how important Ben Ayre is to the team and the culture there. And he's definitely the third guard behind Gary Brown and Cummings, but he's still going to get plenty of minutes. So, but Big Source, he's training. Cook hasn't been phenomenal / injured in his first couple games. He's not the next coming of Jesus that I was hoping he was going to be. Big Source coming back, that sets alarm bells for Cook, doesn't it?
Well, they obviously can't play together. He's an injury replacement. So as soon as Source is back, Cooks is gone. So there's not a huge issue there with them stealing minutes for each other. It's not an issue at all. My concern is the price tag. Like, I like Source, but Southeast Melbourne had the great schedule early. They're getting thin now. Look, Source is definitely on my radar, but at that price, I want to see that he's not being on a minutes restriction. He's back to full strength.
I'm hoping that we see, and I talk about in NRL all the time, I'm hoping that we see a few minutes restrictions for Big Source to start off with. Just let him come back, get a couple of price reductions, and then I'd just really love to jump on him when Southeast Melbourne get on a really good run of games.
Absolutely.
Now,
and I haven't looked that far ahead of the schedule, but you're right. If he has a couple of minutes restrictions, gets to those 3 games and comes down 40K, then he's starting to look a bit more appetizing.
Is anyone looking at Jordan Crawford? Is he just a poor man's Sobey?
Well, he's a discount Sobey. 100K off. There's a lot more you can play with. If the schedule was better, I'd have a good look. He's definitely got the role. The minutes are there. And I've been impressed that now the assists, there's a couple of steals. He had 5 rebounds, I think, last game for, a midget. He's going all right. Like, he's definitely worth a look if you can't afford a Doyle or a Sobey.
Look, Matthew Thomas is in the chats, and he's saying out of Cook, Creek, and Menenga, what 2 do I trade out? Leading towards Cook and Creek to Doyle and Robinson. This is a similar position to what I'm in, and I'm looking at trading Cook and Menenga out, sitting Creek on my bench, copping the little bit of a price hit. Who knows? Creek is good enough that he could cover his 50 as well, but copping the little bit of the price and just having Creek sitting there. You won't be able to afford Doyle and Robinson if you do that. But I think what Creek gives you next week is worth the wait.
Yeah, maybe that's the kind of opportunity to downgrade to a Crawford.
Yeah,
that'd be a point of difference. A little point of difference, but
yeah, I like it. Good short jokes. I would make that short joke, but he's taller than me. So, look, the next couple games are incoming, and they are all guys on doubles. So we have chatted. So we'll go back over to some of the questions. So get them in. We'll be I suppose, cleaning out the clip here. Boogie X has asked me who's the NBL equivalent of Nathan Cleary, asking for a friend. Well, I know Hammer doesn't watch the NRL, but if I had to, I'd probably go a Jalen Adams at the moment. Oh, sorry, he said NBA. Sorry, he's got a question about the NRL equivalent. The NRL equivalent of Nathan Cleary, asking for a friend. Well, Nathan Cleary is in the NRL, so you've had more beers than me, man. Nathan here is asking, is it worth trading Valentine or Adams to a Robinson, Hammer?
I don't think if you're holding Adams or Valentine, there's no point blowing a trade when you're going to get similar production for a guy already in your squad. I think you're better off using your trades to look ahead to round 4. Robinson's a 1-week rental, really. He's going to make you cash. He's going to probably hopefully put up some numbers. If you got Valentine, as much as I hate the bloke now, I'm not going to get rid of him. Yeah, Adams, you're going to probably captain him. So, like, they're worth holding, man. On the back end of a double if you already have them.
Yeah, I'm I'm holding on to Valentine and Adams for Robinson. I'm definitely not opposed to, I suppose, getting Robinson in. But if you're playing him on a single next week, he's playing Melbourne as well, which isn't a great defensive matchup for him. I think it's sideways. I think you can find another way to get Robinson in outside of two guys that are playing in a double game week.
Yeah, at 277K, there's another way.
100%. We've got Callum B in the chat. Thanks for popping on, man. His trades are Cook and Humphreys. Hey, I like those two trade outs. To Travis and Huck Porty. Would a boost trade of Chris Smith to Sobey be the right choice this week? Whew.
I just want to know for a start, why on earth are you holding Humphreys and Chris Smith in your team? What do you rank, Callum, man? Are you like 3,000 and something? Shit, man. I'd be using a booster to blow that team up and start again. Yeah, look, Travis Huck-Porty's good move. That's going to cover you now and week 4. I like that. Cook, we spoke about, he's possibly gone. He's already got one foot out the door. Humphreys, he has Adelaide on the front of his jersey, enough said. Chris Smith, we all make mistakes. I don't hate it.
Can I throw one more thing out there?
Sure.
If I had Chris Humphreys, I wouldn't trade him out 1 week away from this double game week that he's got coming next week, because that is probably the 1 week you want him. You know, hopefully whoever else you've got, try and get Huck Porty in, and then just sit Humphreys on the bench this week, and then you can start him next week. You can start him in. I suppose he's only just getting you single points next week with a double, but
I quite like that idea, man. Look, Humphreys isn't horrendous. He does play the double round 4. Last round, he was pretty solid. When he stays out of foul trouble, he's decent. If you were to keep Humphreys, you'd have to take Travers over Huck Porty, wouldn't you?
Yeah, 100%.
Mm.
And then you could still go Chris Smith to Sobey.
Yeah,
I think getting Chris Smith out is probably better.
From Humphreys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a play with it. Someone there.
I'd go Cook to Travis, Chris Smith to Sobey, save a boost. Lock it in, Eddie.
Yeah, go with that.
Global's asking, would we get rid of Air and Henschel for McDaniel?
Do you have to get rid of someone else?
Yeah, you'd have to get rid of some. Yeah, you'd have to get rid of somebody else. I would be inclined to hold on to Aaron Henschel if I were you, Global.
Yeah. I don't love. I think McDaniel, he's been great and he's overachieved. And there's probably still a little price rise left, but you know, if it's me, I'm thinking you've missed the boat, man.
Let's go into Melbourne versus Brisbane, because it could be a really good matchup. And a guy that we probably haven't mentioned enough, got 64 in 2 games last week, was Shannon Scott. I would love to be able to get him in my team, but with how Sobey's going, it would be really hard to add Shannon Scott over somebody like Sobey. So
yeah, but have a look at what his stat line was in the second game. He got like a 34 Supercoach or something along those lines, scoring 4 actual points. Like, I haven't got it in front of me. It was something like that. This guy's hitting. I said this preseason. He hits every area of the stat sheet, and he just accumulates it. He's efficient. And I think given his matchups, like Brisbane versus Sydney, he's going to play some big minutes to be locking down Jalen Adams. And then you look at them again versus Melbourne. He's going to be playing minutes there against Dellavedova. He may even see some time on a guy like Ian Clark or a Chris Goulding. He's their best defender, and he's a guy who is making that team work. So, look, I don't hate the idea of bringing him in. He's just expensive.
Yeah, that's hard. Like if it's 277K, you could talk me into it. But I think at the current price that he's at, I think it's early 300s, maybe 330K. I find that a really tough ask.
Yeah.
Somebody that our other co-host has talked about, and I know that we've mentioned Sobeys, we've mentioned Shannon Scott, we've mentioned Sam McDaniel, Tyrell Harrison, Aaron Baines, Chris Smith. Who's the 7th guy that you talk about in Brisbane? And it's Mitch Norton. Rob is looking at bringing Mitch Norton in this week. What are your thoughts behind maybe some people looking for a pod play, 128K, bringing in somebody like Mitch Norton? I think it's better than somebody like Isaac White. What are your thoughts?
That 128K is, there's not a lot of value in that kind of price range at the moment. And so for guys who are looking to use their second trade for someone who's playable and who has a semi-decent schedule coming up, I think Norton's good. He's defensively pretty solid. And a team that's trying to make its identity a defensive-minded squad, is definitely a role. And I was surprised. I actually looked at the stats after Rob mentioned it, and he had a 35 Supercoach points last week, and I think it was maybe a 14 the week before.
Yeah, but that was 35 through 2 games last week.
So 17s. It's more production than he's just set for a little price rise. I think you could do a lot worse at that price. He's Ben Air right?
And I think that he's going to go better than Ben Air at the moment. Same role. Let's
Better
call
schedule.
it exactly. Same role, better. But I wonder if it's worth the trade. I wonder who are you trading out to get someone like that? I'm not trading out Ben Air to go to Mitch Norton. That's just sideways. I'll just take the gamble.
Would you trade out Ben Henschel?
I think that he will outscore Ben Henschel.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I would spend a trade on it, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, fair enough.
Is there anything else you want to cover with the Melbourne-Brisbane game, or can we head on to Sydney and Perth?
Yeah, Sydney and Perth, last game of the round.
Gee, it's going to be a good matchup.
I'm excited. And those Sunday afternoon games are great on the couch, aren't they?
Oh, loving it.
You would have been if you didn't stand me up last week.
Yeah, sorry, man. I was asleep. 2 hazies get me done. No, I was driving up. I was being the godfather to my mate's kid. I had a good excuse last week.
What a guy.
But Sydney versus Perth, apart from being the matchup, maybe the matchup of the round. There's actually heaps of good games. When you look at Melbourne and Brisbane, and Perth versus Melbourne, and Brisbane versus Sydney, and Tasmania versus Illawarra. So basically every game that Adelaide don't play in is a really good game this week. But are you looking for anything in particular? We haven't mentioned February 14th there. Denzel Valentine, he's a hold, but it's a reluctant hold, right?
Yeah, look, if I had my time again, I wouldn't have brought him in. But he's also, we've talked about it, he has the tools. He can go big. I don't like the Perth matchup for him. I'm assuming there's going to be an Usher going to him. There's going to be some good matchups across the board. Cotton probably getting some attention from maybe a Jalen Adams. Ben Tui's in the mix there. I just think there's good matchups across the board. But I think that the one that stands out is this is probably going to suit Jalen Adams more than anything.
Yeah, I'm excited about playing Jalen Adams in this game. And maybe, look, is there anybody else you want to cover in this one? Apart from...
Possibly not.
It's hard. We've talked about them all. Yeah.
Pinder? Is anyone bringing Pinder in on a double?
Well...
Probably not when you got Huck 40 and guys like that.
Well, we did have a little bit of a promise in our sign-up that we would talk about the most traded in and most traded out. And let me jump to about the 8th most traded out. And it's actually Keanu Pinder. I don't actually understand why.
I don't know why you'd be... I can understand getting rid of him. He's expensive. His role's a bit muddied at the moment. I don't know what's going on. But on a double week, this is not the week you get rid of him. It's a hold, right?
Yeah. If you're one of those 3% of people trading him out, just... There's a little button that says undo changes, right?
Or log out.
Or delete app. No, I think Keanu Pinder is one of those guys that you definitely hold through this week. Trade him out next week. He must have a really high break even. I'm just having a look. He does have a break even of 71, but I still don't trade him out this week.
Yeah, and that's not on a double. That's not unachievable. There's been a bit of movement in that team, right? Dr. Doolittle's come in. Usher's been up and down. Like, there's a lot going on. They'll find their groove, but I'm hoping you can get Pinder at a discount because he's solid in this game once he finds his role there.
And it's been a pretty poor schedule for Perth. It's been 2-1, 2.
And it continues like that.
I
I think there's only one back-to-back double the entire season for them. So they're, it's a wasteland, their schedule.
While we're talking about most traded outs, let's go back up to number 1, Tyler Cook. Do we agree? Maybe because we're going to go through 20 players most traded in. Do we agree that Tyler Cook is a great trade out this week?
You got to trade him out. If he's not 100% after his injury, Source's coming back in. If it's not now, it's probably next week. See you later. He served a purpose.
Agreed. I'll grab Mitchell Creek here because I am going to be looking at holding Mitchell Creek this week, copping the price reduction. I know that is a really easy step to somebody else, but I think this week you need to look ahead to at least the following week, and I think that's where I'll make my move. I'm expecting maybe some red arrows this week through holding people like Mitch Creek, but I don't think he's a trade out this week with the 6.6% of people trading him out.
No, I think you're onto something there. What's your favourite saying? Sometimes it's not what you spend, it's what you save. Yeah. Look, next week you'll reap the benefits of it because he's a solid captain option. Even though we're bringing in guys next week, how many of those are captain options? Like, I'm probably going to have to come.
To me, it's probably Travis or Creek, in my opinion. And Alex Newton said in the chat, sorry, wrong one. Please flame the 1.4% of people trading out Travis. Yeah, those people need to delete their app.
Yeah, they're entitled to their wrong opinion.
And I'm going to flame these people, not because they're making the right decision this week in trading out Trenton Flowers, but why the fuck are you still holding them? 5.3% owned. He somehow managed to lose money from 115K. I don't see... There was talk of him being a lottery pick or a lottery projected pick. I can't see that being the case anymore.
Not at all, man. And this is what you got to see. When you've got a guy who's obviously not performing, you have to cut ties, man. You can't catch a falling knife. It's not getting better. Move on.
Going to our number 4, big bangers, Aaron Baines, 4.4% owned. I expect to see that skyrocket up a little bit once the news comes out tomorrow night of he's going to get suspension. Lat Mayen copped 1 week. He definitely wasn't as bad as Bangers.
Can you afford to wait until tomorrow night, though? Like, once the round starts, you're getting a bit restricted. Like, you got to make your move now. You're getting rid of him, right, if you're holding him?
Yeah, you're getting rid of him. And I'm seeing all these questions come into the chat. So we will be answering all of those towards the end. Ben Air is number 5, most traded out at 125K. My advice, and the advice that we've answered a little bit earlier in the chat, is probably just to hold on till that double game week, and then he becomes maybe even priority number 1 to trade out.
Yeah, agreed.
Taron Armstrong, obviously no reason to hold him through double donuts in the next couple of weeks.
Although he played today, so he's back on the court, played in the NBL Cross NBA games. He had the 8 assists with 5 turnovers as well. I think he'll be better in the NBL. It's there were some long guys there, troubled him a bit. It's his first game back, but one thing to take out of that game also: how bad is Taj McCall? Is this guy a walking turnover or what?
Mate, he's 320K too, or something ridiculous like that. I'm gonna look at his price. He's gonna have to leak a lot of cash before I consider somebody like that.
Yeah, no.
He's 371K.
And he had six Supercoach points last game in his return?
Oh, I tell you what, you could save some money on him a bit later.
Yeah. A bit later. It's too late, though, once they're out of their good patch.
Sam Menenga's traded out. Completely understand that. We've covered Pinder. A few people were still holding Majok and Chris Goulding. I don't know why you were holding him through round 3, but right move in getting them out.
Why were you holding Majok at all? Oh my God.
Jalen Galloway's the most brought in player at 12%. Negative
Yeah,
break
right.
even, still 177K. I completely understand bringing him in. You haven't missed the boat because you've missed that one price rise.
Cash grab.
Yeah. Justin Robinson, another guy that is a cash grab and a genuine captain option. Love bringing him in, the 10% of people that are bringing him in. Sam McDaniels, I'm sitting on the fence about. I know he's got a negative break even, but a comeback from, DJ Mitchell was out one game with an illness. Definitely helped Sam McDaniel. And Josh Bannon's coming back. I want to see the minutes split. I wonder if that's enough for me to be scared off getting Sam McDaniel.
Yeah, good.
Lockie Ulbrich, 69K, 6.6%. Hawks' schedule hasn't been fantastic, but this is the week he price rises. This is the week that another one of the backups go down. This is the week to get Lockie Ulbrich.
Yeah, agreed. It's look, he's cheap enough for that second trade to bring him in. Your squad should hopefully be set up well enough if you've got a luxury trade like that too.
Ariel Huckporty, 5% owned. Some of these people might have traded out Huckporty before the single. I've held on to him. I think this man is must-have.
Yeah, I've held him since day one and probably will hold through at least to the end of Melbourne's doubles or until JLA comes back on the scene. But the opportunity meets schedule, meets talent. It's a pretty good combination right now, which is going to be paying dividends.
Speaking of the most talented basketball player in Brisbane, Nathan Sobey, 4.8% owned, a genuine captain option again. You would have been grinning like a Cheshire cat if you brought him in last week before his double game week. He was the highest scorer last week. 316K isn't priced out of the market, even with the 30K price rise. I think this is a great trade in.
What's his break even?
His break even at the moment is 30 in a double game week. So yeah, he's going to get that without rolling out of bed.
Yeah, he's a smart buy-in if you so wish to do so. Like we said before, it's the only thing for me is the extra 100K you save between, or not even that much between a Jay Robinson and
yeah, it's only probably my point is it's only 40K. I think Robinson's going to make more money, but if you're really worried about the fact that a lot of people are going to be captaining Robinson, hey, maybe Sobey's the answer.
Yeah, but potentially you can go Robinson to Sobey next week if you got trades and ride Brisbane's couple of doubles.
Yep. Ben Henschel, 69K. I'm still getting brought in. I suppose if you are looking for a downgrade option to upgrade somebody else up, you could go worse than a guard that's getting minutes, whether it be garbage time.
Yeah,
I still don't mind it.
Look, I bought Henschel in this week, and mostly because I just could not find anyone else playable with the amount of cash I had left over. His guard forward makes him, the best of a few bad options. He's set to rise by about 10K, but yeah, I didn't feel great about myself bringing him in. But he's there. Who knows?
He's there. Milton Doyle's also there at the 8th most brought in player.
That's weird.
Yeah, I think that Justin Robinson and Sobey are a lot better options than Milton Doyle.
Yeah, unless you're already holding Doyle, he's definitely a hold, but I wouldn't be bringing him in just on a one-game rental.
Agree with you, man. Jordan Hunter had a massive game last week, but he is one of the most brought-in players. But what worries me is he had a massive game. But so did, let's call him the other starter from these guys. He's just another guy. They have a minute split, and I actually hate the difference between Jordan Hunter and Jonah Bolden.
Yeah,
it just makes me want neither.
Yeah, that's it. They play Perth, they play Brisbane. Brisbane potentially without Baines. makes him a lot more mobile. So you possibly go with a Jonah Bolden in that instance. Yeah, look, I'm not bringing either of them in. There's better options.
And Luke Travis is the 10th most brought in player. I actually think Luke Travis could be must-have as well.
Yeah, I've held him since day one. I think a lot of guys have. The versatility of being a guard forward, the price, what he brings. And he has a massive ceiling. We even saw it in Perth last year. He teases you, but then every so often he really goes on with it. He'll get you 25 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 assists. But
yeah,
the funny thing is he has moments where he looks like he's going to do that every week, but just rarely follows through.
Let's head into our, I suppose, our trades, our sit starts, and our captain thoughts. We'll do it individually, and then we'll tackle some of these questions. There's been some really good questions coming in, guys. Keep them coming. But my trade thoughts is I'm very tempted to boost, but I still think that the time isn't right. I'm going to be sitting a lot more comfortably, still having my 4 boosts heading into next week. I'm actually thinking about trading in Jalen Adams as a bit of a pod. We talked about some really good matchups, especially against Perth this week. And I'm looking at trading in Aldrich as well. So that's getting out Tyler Cook and Sam Menenga, who, of course, isn't playing for 2 weeks. Really enjoyed his services, really enjoyed his -1 in his last game. But it's time to go. He's made me 30K and been a serviceable asset to my team. This allows me to keep Mitch Creek for next week double, which I think is really important. Let's just talk about the reasons I'm going to be losing sleep tonight. And it's probably going to be anti-potting Justin Robinson and Sobey because these guys can make cash as well as get points. Follow my Twitter in case I change my mind. I'll post it. You can get some great thoughts about some great things, or it can be absolute trash most of the time. But realistically, I could see myself backing out because I know that the safe option between making money is getting a Justin Robinson and getting a Sobey in. And look, apart from my Cam Bairstow jersey, my only other NBL jersey is Nathan Sobey. So I am a massive fan. I don't have a Justin Robinson jersey yet. But yeah, look, those are the guys that I could backflip on, which will also net me another 100K in the bank. What's your thoughts? Rate my poo.
I don't hate it, man. I think you got to strike the balance sometimes of not trying to win every week and sort of winning over a longer period. So the Creek move I quite like. I think it's going to pay off big time if he really is a genuine captain option next week. And sometimes it gets hard to then bring in such a expensive player. He's got to move too many pieces around. But look, Jalen Adams, we've spoken about it. He's an expensive version of Robinson. His matchups are solid. You know, we really have maybe 4 genuine guard options this week, and people are really going to have to pick 2 out of the 4 and hope they've picked right.
Yeah, I just wonder whether, I don't see Adams making me money, but if he's the guy that goes off this week, I tell you what, that could shoot me to the stars.
You could put that on a t-shirt too.
Oh, he's got a safety net too. Tell me that Adams is scoring less than 60 in his next 2 games. He's not. Yeah, he's scoring more than that.
I think he's got a high floor. I think the ceiling's not enormous. I think he could go 45 maybe, but I think 30 is his bare minimum floor. He'll give you that every week.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to go similar with mine, man. I'm going Doyle and Robinson in my 2 guard spots. The man in the middle will be Huckporty. The man I love to hate, Denzel Valentine at one of the forward positions and Luke Travers at the other. I've got Air Cummings coming off the bench at guard. I've got Lockie Ulbrich as my bench center and Kyron Galloway and Ben Henschel at my bench forward positions. So I'm pretty solid with this. This is the first time I haven't been flipping and changing all week. I've been settled pretty much since, the day after the last round ended.
I like it. That gives you a bit of flexibility for next week. So you've got 4 starters on double game weeks now.
Right now, I got 5 on double game weeks, I think.
For next week, sorry.
Oh, for next week, 4. Yeah. So next week, I'll already have Huck Porty, Travers, Will Cummings, and, if you want to call Ben Eyre a starter, who knows? But I can bring 2 guys in, at least have a whole starting court full of doubles.
Yeah, I rate it. Yeah, I do really rate it. I think bringing in Justin Robinson is just the right play. I do think it's safe when everybody else brings him in too, but the fact that he can generate you money and trade him out, I think that's the play this week.
Probably before we wrap up, we might want to touch on our community team.
Oh, let's touch on our community team because that is top 200 at the moment. Is that correct?
It's man, you type like a secretary. This is you got some nylons on under that desk.
Thanks, man. You've seen my legs in full flight, so you know how good they are. Look, ducking into our community team at the moment. So we currently have we're currently 388th. We're doing our trades this week. So everybody's putting trades in our Discord. Our Discord's in the comments. Get involved. It's just a lot of people that love not only NBL Supercoach, but love fantasy sports in general. So the Insight Fantasy Sports are doing NBA. We're talking about FPL. We do NRL. We do AFL. We do, fucks me, there's a lot going on. We do NBA. But right now, all the boys are excited, and girls, I'm sure there's about 3 of them, about voting on our trades. So just having a look in the chat, we're sitting 388th. We scored 309 last week. Yeah. But there's lots of people talking. Yeah, 309. Massive score.
388's the poor man's 200.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I pumped our tires up a little bit. But there's everybody talking about getting Sobey and Robinson in. People are discussing what trades come in. And if we can manage to win a week or win some money, we're going to be donating some money to charity. So that's what all this is about. And it is a little bit of fun along the way. So, yeah, get into our Discord, have a chat. But I reckon our community team's better than mine at the moment. It's great.
Beautiful.
Just going through, we will answer some more questions before we knock off tonight. We've got people having digs at me for breaking Menenga. We've got plenty of people having digs at me. We've got Kobo Hoga, who spoke a little bit earlier about the fact that he's got Valentine and Galloway with Ulbrich and McDaniels on the bench. I'm just going to, and I know this is terrible television, I'm just going to scroll up and find his comment a bit earlier for Hammer. Sorry, keep talking, fill the void.
Yeah, Valentine and Galloway with Ulbrich and McDaniels on the bench. I don't hate it. Galloway, Valentine, I mean, they're obviously teammates. So sometimes the trouble with that is if the team tanks, you haven't hedged your bets. Sometimes it's better to spread it around. But look, they coexisted nicely last game. They both had, well, Valentine, as we said last week, he had 21 at halftime and finished like 24. But Galloway was solid.
So that was Kobo bringing up the fact that he wants to bring in Robertson next to Travis, which moves Will Cummins to the bench. I think with the team that he's got, look, he's going to be pretty happy with holding on to Will Cummins for next week, isn't he?
Yeah, that's the main point of that is Will Cummins. He's not, he's not elite level super coach, but on a round where there's only 3 teams on a double and he's one of them, he's very serviceable. He second top scored last round with 73 behind Sobey. He
was one of the top scorers in the first round as well. Yeah, look, I think that you need to hold him for next week, don't you?
For sure.
Matty Granger's asking, I never put my Supercoach team together when I'm drunk, but that is when I do my best work.
Yeah, at least very little time when he's not.
Theo is asking, Galloway, Sobey, and Delhi in for Creek, Valentine, and Flowers. and gives a bit of love. He's ranked 1K with Flowers in his team, so fixing that would be fantastic. Doyle or Sobey as captain? I actually really like his trades. Look, I'm going to be holding on to Creek, but I definitely understand moving on because nearly all these guys are making you cash outside of Delhi. But on a 3-game week, look, when he goes fantastic, you can tell me that I'm wrong. I won't be bringing Delhi in, but Doyle or Sobey captain?
I don't hate rolling the dice on Doyle as a point of difference. And I'll tell you why, Mattrix. The last game, and we spoke about it on the last pod, Doyle had so many open looks. Crawford's been brilliant for him. The amount of attention that Crawford gets from the defense is opening Doyle up something chronic. And all he had to do was just hit some open shots, which he couldn't hit the backside of a barn until after 3/4 time on the weekend. But if he gets his act together and he starts hitting those shots, we could see some phenomenal scores out of Doyle. And if this is the week and you put the C on him, it could prove a masterstroke. This could be a point of difference. Alternatively, it could tank, but that's your choice to make.
I think Doyle has a high floor, though. I don't think that you're going to be absolutely destroyed by captaining Doyle.
No.
Look, we've just talked about Sobey all day in the one episode that I'm not wearing my Sobey jersey due to going for a run and it smelling absolutely rank yesterday. But because I just want to rep Sobey everywhere I go. But who scores more this week, Sobey or Cotton? And why is it Sobey?
You tell me why it's Sobey.
No, I actually think it's Cotton this week. I think Cotton could nearly be a great, like you said earlier, Hammer, that Cotton just gets his regardless of the matchup. And the only reason he's not the most brought in player this week is the 2-1-2-1 schedule. It sucks that he's not playing a double next week. Sobey isn't either. I still think Cotton scores more points.
I think Sobey may come back to earth a bit too. Like if Baines is out, they've had some drama in the background this week. But with a guy the size of Baines, even though he hasn't been playing well, it will change the way that the team operates. You don't take out a piece that big and that's central to what they do, and it doesn't change what the rest of the guys are doing. So from past experience, Sobey overcompensates and it doesn't end up well.
Look, he's bringing in Paul Varts is doing the same as me. Cook and Menenga out, and Travis and Who for 104K. Who would you bring in? I would probably bring in Lockie Aldrich or Kyron Galloway if I had 104K to spend. Let's keep getting through these questions. I'll give Nathan's question to you, Hammer. Thought on Mitch Norton and Kyron Galloway to replace a Cairns rookie. Between Kyron Galloway, 99K minus one break even, or Mitch Norton, 128K. Now, let me tell you his break even. Like I said, I typed like a secretary. He's got a 10 break even on a double game week. Who are you bringing in between Mitch Norton and Kyron Galloway to replace a Cairns rookie? I'd
bring in Kyron Galloway. I think that next round 4, if you're going to hold it, they're on a double. And it gives you that extra little bit of, I'm assuming he's going to be on your bench production, and a little bit of extra coin in your pocket. So I've held Galloway since round 1. I saw a comment before, somewhere like, why are you holding an Adelaide player in your team? Look, it was more of a last-minute panic thing when Bannon was out, and I brought him in. These things happen, but Galloway's
marinating. Kyron's marinating on both our benches, and it's not too bad.
Yeah.
George's Diab is asking, what's our guys' rank? Well, after dropping 779 spots last week with a score of 279, I am 1,055th. Where are you sitting, Hammer?
I'm sitting at 595.
Yep. And Rob is above us, I would like to think, for the last time. to put his words in his mouth, but he made the right play with Doyle and stuff last week, and he's reaping the benefits.
Yeah.
Alex Newton has asked who scores the most out of Doyle, Cotton, Sobey, and Robinson. We have answered that. Tuning in late, asking where the Hawk is. He had to work late tonight. He's got the young fella, so he's given this week a miss. He's given us a brush. Ted Hood has asked Creek, Cook, and Menenga out for Cotton, Sobey, and Ulbrich on the bench. He's looking at a Cotton captain, which I personally love, and an easy trade back to Creek for next week. Allows for points on the boards this week. What's your thoughts, Hammer? Because I've got mixed thoughts between trading Creek out for 1 week just to trade him back the following week.
Well, if you got spare trades, I think it's a good move. I know he's obviously using a boost there, but you need to take care of Cook and Menenga, and you're probably not getting a lot of return this week for those guys. We spoke about it early on about, I think most of us had Creek and Creek and Cotton in our team. When you got those guys who have the massive price tags, it's very easy to just take one player out and bring whoever you want in. You don't have to make multiple trades. So, yeah, I quite like it. I think over 2 rounds, it'll pay off.
Yeah, and I don't mind it. I just think that when you're sitting there at round 12 and you're worried about the 30K that you're going to lose on Creek, I wonder if holding him a week on your bench, like if you can trade Cook and Menenga out, and I know that you're probably going to struggle to get Cotton and Sobey in, but maybe if you could trade out Cook and Menenga for an Adams or a Justin Robinson and a Sobey, I think that you're going to be better off.
Nah, just do it, Ted. You only live once, man. Got to risk it to get the biscuit.
You've got 2 different answers here, and that's why we have 2 of us. You're entitled to your wrong opinion, Hammer.
Wow.
Do you love it when I quote? Do you love it when I quote you to you? You said it's not what you spend and it's what you save. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. Shots is back on. He's a big fan of our NRL show as well. Thoughts on Bain and Creek out for Doyle and Huck Porty, and he moves Travis up to the forwards. Hey, Baines and Creek out for Doyle and Huck Porty. Huck Porty's on a double next week. I really like it.
Yeah, overall, your games, double games are up. That's a good move.
Stephen has asked, and this is a little bit pointed to me. Sorry, Hammer. I know that you hate, I suppose, the oval ball sports. Stephen's asking, is there any point in saving a trade from an NRL Supercoach player? He used a boost in round 1. He's got 6 players this week on doubles with McDaniels on your bench. The way I see it is there's no real advantage to saving a trade. You can nearly max trade the whole year. Oliver is asking, would we go Cook and Valentine out for Harrison and Cotton? Or should he go Sobey instead of Cotton? Also, what's the risk he runs of using another boost this week if he used one last week? Go, Hammer.
Oh, yeah, those boosts don't grow on trees, do they? I'd be careful using your boosts this early. You're gonna burn bright, you're gonna burn fast, and you're going to probably regret it come the end of the season. Keep in mind with your boost, there are some critical junctures coming up where Cairns and New Zealand return that you may want to be using it for, and a lot of the big guys are saving for that. Look, Harrison, we talked about it. We don't see Baines getting more than a 1, maybe 2 week suspension, a 2-game suspension. I think everything reverts back to normal after that. Get rid of Cook, great move. Valentine, he's dead to me, so do what you want with him. Cotton in, great, but yeah, I don't know if it's worth using your boosts to do all that.
Yeah, I think going Cook and Valentine out, perfectly serviceable. Tyrell Harrison and Cotton in. Sobey and Cotton, look, flip a coin at the moment. I know you're spending more money on Cotton, but I still see Cotton scoring more than Sobey this week. And save those boosts. I think that they're going to be really important when you're backed into a corner and you find yourself with one or two guys on a double game week after not looking ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Corey Blackledge is back again. How is there a way to get Creek in for next week if he hasn't had him all season? Hopefully I can get him with Valentine next week. Man, yeah, you've just got to go down to maybe a 69k player there and spend the money up for Creek. I see Valentine going up in money and Creek still dropping in money. Valentine has a 57 break even. Actually, I probably see him breaking even and not going up in money. That's my bad. But Creek's going to drop money. I don't see Valentine losing money. Yeah, you've just got to downgrade maybe a 200k player to a 69k player and get there. And the last question, in case we get any more, if I could choose any guard to bring in as a free hit this week, who would it be? For me, it's Jalen Adams. What are you doing, Hammer?
Man, I'm bringing Robinson in, but I think any of those four that we talked about, your Robinson, Cotton, Jalen Adams, Sobey, they're the four guards. Pick any two, plug and play. You're going to be all right.
Mate, that has definitely been our longest episode. We have answered every question along the way. I know I'm starving. So do you have anything else to leave us with, Hammer, or are you just excited for the NBL games ahead?
Just shows how hard he has to work to keep us on track, man. He's gone way over time. Now, big round coming up. Get on the socials, guys. Put your input in for the community team. And hopefully keep that one still staying in the poor man's top 200.
All right, guys. You've listened to an Insight Fantasy Sports podcast. Thank you.
Cheerio.
Cheerio.